Hey guys, so the chapter starts off with CP0 attempting to eliminate Drake and Apu, which just goes to further showcase just like how much the government has a vested interest in fully annexing Wano into their coalition of countries if they're actually willing to, if the government is willing to kill one of their own people, in this case being Drake. And anything that could put that at risk must be eliminated, even if it's an ally working undercover. But that in itself does confirm a couple things. First and foremost is that CP0 almost seems like desperate to eliminate Drake in this chapter, and in that desperation, it feels like they've almost forgotten about Luffy, which I know they're kind of expecting Kaido to take care of him, but at this point, just letting the fight happen I think is gonna backfire on them tremendously, and lead to what many people have theorized, which is the idea that this whole setup of a Navy fleet being at Wano's doorstep, like ready to completely take over the country and whatnot, is the perfect setup for Luffy to claim Wano as his own territory and basically massacre that fleet. And honestly, I don't disagree. It all just fits too perfectly into place for that not to be the case. And that is what kind of, although at the same time, that is what kind of worries me, because that just begs another question of what part of this is going to go south. Because the last chapter definitely seemed to indicate towards the idea of Sanji sacrificing himself or dying. And while I'm not in denial of the fact that Oda would go that far, it does seem too early for that to happen just yet, which only leaves Onigashimi's explosion. But if Oda was to go down the route of Luffy claiming Wano as his territory, it would make more sense for Onigashima to destroy the fleet over Wano. So something has to happen. I just don't know what that something is going to be. Secondly, and this could be more thinking it, is that one of the CP0 agents says they know who Drake is, so that gives off the vibe that Sword kind of is in fact working a little more independently from the government and Navy than we thought, or it could be just CP0's usual method of eliminating people and information not convenient to the government's narrative, which honestly, if either of the case, it really just shows that Sword as an organization is definitely being run by an outside force, and it's one of those things that kind of confirms what I think we've already known, which is that I think the head of Sword is in fact Aokiji. Like Aokiji never 100% left the Navy, but he did like help. I think in some way he did kind of help in creating Sword in some way, and whether or not he's like the head of Sword or just another of its agents, I don't know, but it does show Aokiji did have a hand in it. And yeah, now with all that being said, I'll get to Zoro in a bit, but first I do want to talk about the fact that we see Orochi basically trying to flee from everything, and inevitably he comes into contact again. He sees Hiyori again. Like we see Hiyori basically confronting Orochi saying, "I'll be with you. I'll be with you until the end," all that shit. And yeah, this feels a little sus. That's a little suspect. Like this whole thing of Hiyori confronting Orochi feels exactly like the whole situation with Yakuza 9 when Odin suddenly appeared. But it turned out to be Kanjuro, and I feel that's exactly the same thing going on here, which in that case, it's kind of hard to say inevitably in the end where exactly Kanjuro's loyalties lie. I guess at this point he doesn't really have loyalties. It's I think it's one of those things where even though he did unleash the ink monster on Orochi's orders, I think Kanjuro, just from the outset of that order, also did realize Orochi was full of shit and not willing to actually go down with Onigashima like he had said. So I don't know if Kanjuro is dead or not, but I think in his final dying act, he basically created that pretty much like that pretty much like vision or drawing of Hiyori in order to commit one final dying act, which is either to assassinate Orochi here and now, or just use the imagery of Hiyori to keep him on Onigashima until the imminent moment of Onigashima's destruction. Which, yeah, if that is how Orochi goes out, it is. I'll be honest, the whole thing of dying at the hands of the woman he loves, which is kind of just the perfect way for him to go out, frankly. Like, kill. Like, and honestly, with how many times Orochi has resurrected, one thing that does also make me believe that this is that Hiyori is fake and that this is Kanjuro's doing, is that in some ways, like, Kanjuro is the one who's been. Orochi said it himself. Kanjuro is the one who's been with him one of the longest, aside from those two old farts who gave him power and all that. So it would make sense that Kanjuro would ultimately be the only one who would be able to really kill Orochi, or for that matter, even know how to kill him. So in that sense, his death is kind of the most ironic, in the sense the person he trusted the most is going to inevitably be the one who kills him. Like that is just kind of like the perfect way to end his story, I think. Now that's more or less my thought on that, but now with that being said, one thing that could unravel everything I just said about Orochi, about this being like a fake Hiyori, is that and this being the real Hiyori is, oddly enough, Enma looking like it's Enma's kind of reaction to Zoro in this chapter. Like, it's like Enma looks like it was practically self-destructing after coming into contact with King's fire, and now. And this could be just that Zoro overshot the use of Enma's power on top of reacting to King's origins of Lunarian, but it could theoretically mean that Habakiri is close by. But again, saying it out loud feels a little far-fetched. And personally, I am going with the former idea, that I think whatever happened with Enma in this chapter, it was that, yeah, Zoro, I think, kind of overshot it. And in another effect, it is reacting to King's power, I think, in some way. Because under that scenario, we really do get a sense that whatever the physiology of a typical Lunarian is, King might have gone beyond that. Like, he does feel like he's... it doesn't feel like it's too much of a stretch to say that King's entire body is in some form or another basically engulfed in fire, and the suit he wears helps him contain and control that. And just looking at his wings, I'm surprised I didn't pick up on it before, but with all the little details being revealed about Lunarians through this battle, and even from what we've learned about their history through Queen, it is showing more and more just how much of the celestial dragons really are false gods. Like that's kind of an obvious thing, but it's truly showed how much the celestial dragons are false gods that like drove the real ones to near extinction. Now, again, I don't know how much of the whole god-angel thing he's drawing upon with Lunarian history, and whether he means it literally or metaphorically. Like, at this point, it's really hard to tell how much of what Oda's drawing upon with this history is metaphorical and literal. But I am starting to see certain fallen angel parallels that Oda is using with basically King's character, and it's enforcing the idea that the Lunarians really were the original gods of this world, whereas before it was like, yeah, and the celestial dragons and the world government were the ones who brought those false gods down to earth and killed them in order to become the new gods or whatnot. But yeah, it really is showing just how much the web of lies there has been with the world government. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much all I got for this review. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, Analyst Crunchyroll. Be sure to hit the notification bell, the subscribe button, and just share the video around, guys. Dark Knight of Anime, signing off. Later, everyone.